decided to come in here and just do whatever the fuck I want because I've realized that a lot of what's holding me back in life is the fact that I'm afraid to try. And I realized this just a moment ago that trying is stupid. And, because this is something I want to do for me. I don't need to do this. This isn't like required. Nobody's got a gun to my head. I want to do this because I want to do this. And if I have to try to do it, then what am I doing? So I want to do this because I want to clear my fucking head out. I want to clear my thoughts out. I want to. It just helps to talk. Not a lot of people have enough ears to listen to all the things I have to say. So if I can just have a reason to put it out and then to maybe look at it later, to rethink things. And really, if I start going down a train of thought and I get distracted and go into another train of thought and then 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 I'm like, oh fuck, whatever I started talking about in the beginning was actually important and I can't fucking remember what it is. I lose a lot of things that way when I'm trying to figure things out. You know, um, what's that modest mouse line? You going for a walk, I'm sure you went a long ways. Sorting things out in our heads, we'll forget in a few days. It's exactly that side, fuck. It's exactly that kind of shit. It's like, I'm doing it and I'm running and then I lose it. And it's critical for those moments where I have it, but then it's just gone. And that's kind of true for everything, but some things you expect to be kind of ethereal. Like when you have revelatory breakthroughs, that moment of clarity can't last forever, even though you do reach a sort of a new level of clarity. You have to go back to normal and you can't constantly live in the awe of those sorts of breakthroughs. It's just not practical, but there are some things you don't want to lose, like trains of thought, like I just about did. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna come in here and do what the fuck I want. Another problem I was having is that I felt like with this and with like writing and with, art or poetry is the one thing, and like songwriting is something, even though it's hard to call it songwriting. I write it like lyrics to a song, but I don't make music or have music or write it to music. So it's really poetry, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if it fucking matters, but whatever it is, I like to do that. And those sort of things like pour out of me. They sort of force their way out of me. It's not like I sit down with the idea like, oh, I really would like to write some poetry. It's like something's welling up inside of me, some intense sort of emotion or something. And it a phrase pops into my head, and it's not my doing. It just shows up there, and then like I'm like, oh, I like that, that feels the type of way, and so I start repeating it, and then repeating it, and repeating it, and repeating it, and then adding to it, and adding to it, and then changing it, and building a structure around it, and that sort of thing just comes out of me, But when I never sit down and say like I want to do that, but I always think like, oh, I want to write, or I want to record a podcast, or I want to make a YouTube channel, or whatever. Because I feel like, I feel in the moment like it'd be something pertinent to do, but whenever it comes down to actually doing it, I just hate it. It's horrible. And I really fucking hate it. I hate it because I feel like I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about the end product, like what is this going to look like when I'm done? And thinking about like, oh, would it be worth putting out? Will people judge me for it? What should I say? Should I filter myself? Should I choose to only talk about some things and not others? Or, like that sort of shit, which I think is a natural response to have whenever you're thinking about putting your intimate thoughts into the internet, because let's face it, it's a fucking nightmare. And it's obviously scary. I haven't decided if I want to use my real name or not, which feels sort of cowardly and sort of punk rock, So we'll see which side takes over. Um, but I don't know. It just feels like I'm thinking about producing something, and so it feels a lot like trying, and it doesn't feel natural. And over the last few days, I've sort of been, writing and just writing for the sake of writing, which I do when again, just like the poetry, whenever it pours out of me, whenever I reach such a point of anxiety and depression and existential angst that I just can't fucking keep it in anymore. You know, I can't sleep at night or whatever. I just feel like, oh, fuck, I need to sort this out. And so I go sit somewhere and just write in my notebook until I don't feel like I need to write anymore. And that's the only way my writing gets done. And that's the only way I've ever really tried to record anything. And that's not super productive, and it really holds me back as a person because I have to go through these long periods of you know pressure before I get any release, and I don't like that. I feel like I can do better than that, and I feel like regularly purging and regularly organizing my ideas and talking about them and thinking about them in detail and having to follow a thought linearly because I'm speaking, and try to finish those thoughts and keep those thoughts together. I mean, it's only going to help me. And yeah, so I just think I should do it for the sake of doing it instead of coming in here or sitting down at my notebook or laptop and thinking, oh, I would really love to be a writer or I would really love to have a podcast. Which I mean, like that's what I would really want to do is not just that sort of thing specifically, but in like I have a career right now, and obviously it's paying the bills and all that shit. It's not like I'm desperate for anything, but I want if I could survive off of my mind and my creativity and my spirit or whatever, all that kind of shit, or and also like my skills, as far as, well, it's not really relevant here, but now it just sounds suspicious, so I feel like I have to say it. I've been thinking of sort of odd jobbing at like farmers markets because I like gardening. And see, now it feels like I'm talking to somebody instead of just talking, and that's weird. And this whole thing's weird, and I'm not sure what to do about it or what to think about it. And I'm just trying to keep the words coming right now so I don't freeze up and I'm shaking my head and trying to clear the thoughts about how self-conscious I want to be right now, and just continue telling you that you might see me at a farmer's market hawking some salad, some tomato starts or something. Um, who knows if we'll know each other? Wouldn't that be weird? Um, anyway, the point is, there. I feel like there's this major disconnect between what I do for a living and the fact that I'm living. I work for a living. I have an office job, and it pays the bills. It provides me a paycheck. Every 2 weeks or so. And I use that money to buy groceries and clothing and pay for my house and the internet and all that shit. But at the end of the day, the things don't really seem connected. Um, when I grow food, tomatoes in the garden, lettuce, spinach inside. It feels really good. I'm eating, and that food came from somewhere. When I bake my own bread, it feels really good. It's way better than the store-bought bread. My girlfriend doesn't think so. Um, but I do, and it's probably to do with the fact that I made it my fucking self. And there's something physical and tangible connected to the fact that I'm eating this sandwich where I baked the bread, I grew the lettuce and the spinach and the tomatoes, and I didn't grow and slaughter and butcher the hog or make the cheese. But I mean, that's a pretty solid me sandwich, if I can fucking say so. Okay, I did a lot of shit there, and that food feels like it came from me. It's always powerful to be in the garden and see your sweat drip down into the soil right by the roots of the tomato that's going to feed you. It's an incredible moment of connectivity between you and nature. Whereas if I'm sitting in an office and I'm just staring at a computer. And it's not like I feel like it's a bad job or an unproductive job or a job that doesn't benefit society. I've got my reasons to think all of those things, and I'm pretty satisfied with myself for how I'm doing at it and how, what the job is itself. I feel pretty good about it. But at the end of the day, it's me using one aspect of me to really do what other people want me to do. And I would really like it to be more of a situation where it's like me and my family doing things, because I always idealize the sort of indigenous, sort of pre-society people. I'm talking, if human beings are 250,000 years old as a species, 100,000 years ago, you know, and more recently than that too. But just to prove the point of what I'm talking about, I'm talking about small societies. I think it's supposed to be hunters and gatherers in groups of like 200 people or whatever. And basically everybody knows each other. There's a connectivity between everybody, and everything you do is with a purpose, right? Because whether you succeed at hunting and farming and gathering, or now I'm thinking about whether there was farming 100,000 years ago, and I'd be curious to know. I don't think I can think of any evidence off the top of my head. I could Google it, but it's really not that important. Uh, we can take farming out of there for the 100,000, but even farming's definitely like what 10,000 years ago, and you could more or less, right up until this point, can like include what I'm talking about here, which is small bands of people who have purpose in what they're doing. Did you hear how fucking horrible that got for a second? Or is that just me being self-conscious? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Point is, um, what I would really love is to feel like what I did had meaning and had a tangible connection to the fact that I could pay for my house and the fact that I could eat food and all of that stuff. And I just want it to feel a little less hoary, a little more natural. And it's cool that I don't have to do this. That feels good. It's not something, I think people, I do at least, kind of idealize and look up to the people who were like, I didn't have a choice, all I could ever do is this. And I feel that way to a degree where it's like, I really do yearn for that sort of freedom I'm talking about, to live my life like a human being where work and play are intertwined, is really what I'm talking about. Where everything I'm doing is tangible and meaningful and makes my life feel better. And it doesn't so much feel like I'm selling 8 hours of my day every day to, pay the bills, and, spending my weeks just trying to, you know, live in my off time, basically. And that blows. So if I could connect my mind and my spirit and my ability to, grow plants, and fuck, I'll Uber drive or whatever, I can do that kind of shit. But, what I'd really like to do is transition, if I could, if I could set a goal for myself as far as what success would look like in all of this, it would be to have enough spread across the things that I love. And even though like minute levels of success in the grand scheme of things, just to be able to keep myself and my family afloat, and live about the way I do now. If I could afford a house in the country, that would be ultimate success. But real success is being able to focus my life around my family and around the things I love, and focus on reading and writing and thinking and talking and growing, and try to make myself a better person so that I can try to make, in a responsible and thoughtful way, the world a better place without just being a pretentious asshole, which I'm sure I am right now, and I just can't tell. You know, it doesn't matter. This is what I'm doing it for, though, I guess, is to just spit it out, And I always wanted to put pressure on this shit, like put a form to it, whatever it was. Like, I remember wanting to go through do a YouTube channel. Um, and really what I've wanted, this has been going on for years for me, just wanting to create and being afraid to, because I felt like I had to make it into something. And I'm realizing now that I don't really give a fuck what it is. What I give a fuck is that it works for me, and that I can just keep doing it, Like, I don't care. I just want to keep doing it because it feels good to talk and get stuff off my chest, That's why I stand in the kitchen and talk for 45 minutes at my girlfriend, at her, mind you, just to be clear, because I'm trying to sort some shit out in my own head, and I need her there. Programmers do this rubber duck programming, right, where they have some trouble that they are trying to figure out, like code's not doing what it's supposed to do, and everything seems right, they'll have a rubber duck nearby, and they'll talk to the duck and explain the code to the duck, and explain what's happening. And it's something in the process of explaining that allows a sort of clarity of thought, and that's really what I'm after here. And and I want to do other things with my writing. Anyway, I'm veering. Okay, the story I was trying to tell was that I had a YouTube channel. I had an aspiration for a YouTube channel, an idea for a YouTube channel, and I felt like I had to make it something. So I was like, well, I want it to be productive. I'm really into learning. I like to read. I like to learn facts, and so I sort of felt like, well, what if I would learn things and then make content about it and, try to sort of make it an organized thing. I had this whole thing, I wanted to do a video on climate change, right? Because that's important and I'm interested in science, and I thought the science behind it's pretty interesting. And so I sort of, I actually ended up writing a really killer essay on it and understanding it a lot better than I did before. But that's what it turned out to be, an essay, which it was a cool essay. I actually should look it up and think about it as an essay now, because I've sort of made that distinction in my head. And, what I was trying to do there was, I was trying to figure something out, and then I figured it out, and then once I got done with it, I didn't give a fuck enough to try to record it. I wrote a script for it, which is the essay I'm referring to, and it had images and all that stuff, and it would have been a killer, like, report in school or something. Like, it would have done well. But once I had it figured out, it wasn't interesting anymore, and I couldn't bring myself to record it, and I tried, and I hated it. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't do scripts because, part of the thing I like to do is just kind of talk off the top of the head, and the script feels really constricting, and I'm real focused on, well, did that sound natural when I'm saying it, or is my cadence fucked up? And, so things were going real shitty for me, and I just quit, and I did that over and over again with podcasts, with writing, and I just kind of felt like there has to be a point to this, and the point has to be productive for the person listening to it. And recently, through Hunter S. Thompson, through David Foster Wallace, Jello Biafra, these people sort of, the thing that they do is be themselves. David Foster Wallace is a really good example of this because of the way he wrote, right? He would go, I just read a supposedly fun thing I'll never do again, which is a book and an essay. The essay is the last essay in the book, which is a compilation of essays. And in that essay, he describes going on a cruise, right? And so, and he sort of takes on the role of a journalist. He has another one called Getting Away from, pretty much being away from it all, also in that same book, about going to, I think it's the Indiana State Fair, maybe Illinois State Fair, I'm not sure. But, most reporters go to these things and they're like, oh, this is how so-and-so is, blah, blah, blah. And they're sort of, playing the role of objective or, subjective for a reason, Whereas David Foster Wallace's whole charm in these, he described it in these essays, he described it as being sort of like an eyeball that just views things. And he does great at that, his ability to just observe and to make you feel like you're there because he puts it through the scope of his consciousness, He describes sort of the things that colors remind him of, or the things textures remind him of. He makes metaphors that aren't metaphors that are objective things referring to objective things, but they're these metaphors that connect objective things to subjective things. So you get a feeling, he's connecting it to feeling more than he is to anything visual. Okay, so I just had an idea. Like, I wish I had examples for that, That would be cool, because that'd be a really cool thing to talk about. Anyway, we'll just make a note of that, because that's probably where, hey, that could be a thing that would be YouTubeable, eh? That might be a good idea. When I need to just fucking say something, when I feel the need to just spit some shit out, I'll come in here and sneeze into the microphone. And I meant that metaphorically too. Um, and then when I feel like really, sorting some shit out, I can write something when I feel I need to really clear some things out. And then when I just feel like it'd be cool to, talk about something and make a little observation about something, it'd be cool to do like a YouTube thing about that. That'd be fucking sick. Um, yeah, so, but what I really want to do, that's me kind of putting structure to it, which is like not something I want to do. It's exactly what I've been talking about, and I don't want to fall into that trap. But the way I meant this was a lot more freewheeling, sort of a idea of general categories more than strict things. Because before I was like, oh, I want to be a teacher or something, basically, and like that's fucking arrogant because I don't fucking know anything, Like who am I to fucking go on Wikipedia and the fucking just Google some shit and then regurgitate it to the internet like I'm fucking smart. That's preposterous. What I do have, I think, is some thoughts that are interesting and some opinions that are interesting. And, I feel like, maybe there's something to just being me. I think people like that. Like, I really like that about Theo Vaughn, too. Theo Vaughn is a really cool dude. And the charm about him is that, like, his podcast and his stand up, it's real personal, it's real genuine. I think we're sort of lost in a lot of irony and disconnection and controversy and conflict right now. And a little bit of genuine humanity goes a long fucking way. And it does for me, and so maybe it will for other people. And maybe this will give me a chance to be a genuine fucking person. Because, life doesn't provide a lot of opportunities for being a genuine fucking person. And, Elvis once said, I had this plan to say, I didn't plan to use it in this thing, but this is one of those things where, like, boy, I really hope I get the chance to say this. Elvis once said, if you can't find a partner, use a wooden chair. So here we are, this wooden chair. It's actually a plastic chair I'm on, but I was more referring to the microphone as my wooden chair, my therapist, my, I don't know, confessional, my diary, my short attention span expressing itself. It is currently 8:40 p.m. and I gotta get the fuck going because I got shit to do. So, peace, bitch.